Hi, it's Theo, and thank you for joining me. And today we will be reviewing all the Druid cards from the upcoming expansion into the Emerald Dream. As always, I will be doing quick reviews, so you won't have to wait over a minute before the actual review starts. So let's get started with the very first one. And usually with these cards, try to go from lowest to highest cost cards, but this time, it's kind of important we start with a certain card, because this card kind of influences how all the other cards get judged. So the very first card we got here is Hamuul Room Totem, a 5-mana 5/6 start of game. If each spell in your deck is nature, imbue your hero power. Repeat this every 2 spells you cast. So you start with the hero power, and that hero power is bigger and bigger green man. You can see here, Blessing of the Golem. So you start with summoning a 1/1 plant golem, and then every 2 spells, and not every 2 nature spells, every 2 spells, you get a bigger minion, so it goes 2/2, 3/3, and so on. And this imbue part seems really strong and so easy to imbue as Druid, because you have so many different ways to play spells, and you don't even have to play special cards in your deck, like those neutral imbue cards, because you get imbues with this card all alone. And this hero power, of course, starts off a bit slowly, but once you get to like 5/5s, it can start to be a real menace. I wouldn't be surprised if this card can be like turn 7/8 already be a 10/10. And well, you do have to make your deck a little bit worse, because you have to play only nature spells. I think the upgraded hero power is really strong, and that's why I'll be giving it 4 stars. And let's start with the 1-mana spell, Symbiosis, a nature spell, which is very important, as you saw with the Hamuul. Discover a choose 1 card from another class. Now, we haven't seen most choose 1 cards, so it's maybe a little bit hard to judge this one. Though the ones we've seen so far, I feel like they haven't been too great. So that kind of goes against this card, because if you only discover from bad cards, obviously this card isn't gonna be good. However, I feel like the upcoming cards, there has to be some good ones, because in the past, mechanics like this that just went across all their classes often had some really strong cards. So I'm gonna assume there's gonna be some strong cards, but if they're all pretty bad, then obviously this rating will go down. I think this can go pretty well in like an imbue deck. It's 1-mana nature spells are very easy to upgrade, and then depending on how many spells are gonna be choose 1, you probably get another spell. And I think 1 spell by itself, just upgrading hero power once, is pretty good. So I think I'll be giving it 3 stars, on the condition that the upcoming choose 1 cards, especially if the spells are gonna be good enough to be worth running. Otherwise, like I said, the rating might go down. And the next spell we have is a 2-mana nature spell, Reforestation. It's a choose 1 card, but it's from Druid, so you can't discover it with the previous card. But draw a spell or draw a minion. Hold this for 3 turns to do both. So it's a bit like the Frost Lotus Blossom, which you had to hold for 3 turns to basically double up on the effect. And if you do with this card, you basically get a Swindle, and that was an extremely strong card. So if you can hold it in your hand for 3 turns, it's really, really strong. I mean, 2-mana draw 2 is strong, and then also you get the spell and a minion, which is often better. So really great when you can hold it for 3 turns, and then by itself, it's kind of fine, like you can tutor a minion or a spell. I mean, it's a bit worse than a card like Thrive in the Shadows, because you can't discover it with this one. You wouldn't play it by itself, but the option that you have to either get a spell or a minion, and just being able to tutor a card, that might be very important to your deck, I think makes it a pretty good card. It's just a flexible draw card that is also a nature spell, and then the upside with drawing 2 cards is just really strong, so I'll be giving it 3 stars. Then we have Horn of Plenty, a 2-mana nature spell. Discover a nature spell, it costs 2 less. So this card reminds me a bit of the Primordial Glyph, but this is kind of better because you always get a nature spell, which I think generally is better than a normal spell you can get as Druid. Obviously, this card all depends on the nature spell pool, on how good it is, and I've looked at the nature cards that are currently standard. They're alright, they're not super amazing, but they're mostly cheap cards that do something that isn't too bad. However, all the new cards though that you get as nature spells are really, really nice. You could probably have a good chance to get one of the new cards, and I think they're all pretty strong, especially because almost all the new cards currently generate another new card, and then you can just keep chaining those nature spells. And then if you're playing Imbue as well, that's even more amazing. You can probably even play it outside of Imbue decks, but especially in Imbue decks, I think it's gonna shine with helping to upgrade the hero power. So I'll be giving it 3 stars. Then the next one is a minion, the Dreambound Disciple, a 3-mana 3/3 Battlecry and Death Rattle. Your next hero power costs 0. So obviously this goes well into the Imbue deck, although maybe you can also play it in like an attack damage deck. Although I think most of the attack Druid cards are rotating. But mostly in Imbue decks, I think it's gonna be quite good in that. Just even if you upgrade your hero power only once, right? This is turn 3, you get a 3/3 and a 2/2. Which is solid, but then also your next hero power is free again for the next turn if this dies. So make a 2 hero power cost 0 in a deck that often wants to press the hero power is quite nice. It basically cheats 1 mana. Now, I don't think this card is going to get played outside of the Imbue deck, but I think it's going to be a solid inclusion in the Imbue Druid deck, if that's a thing, so I'll be giving it 3 stars. And next up we have Photosynthesis, a 3 mana nature spell. Restore 6 health. Get 3 random Druid spells. Now, the 6 health is definitely a nice bonus for this card, but it's mostly about the 3 random Druid spells. Now, the thing is about 3 random Druid spells, though, is there is quite a few bad spells that you can get from the previous expansions. For example, you can get some Protoss cards. They're not that amazing if you're not playing a Protoss deck. You can get like the arcane spells. You can get like spell damage synergy that you don't really have in the deck most likely. So while you get 3 spells, which is quite a lot for 3 mana, it feels like you probably get 1, 2, maybe 3 cards that just aren't that great. However, it is 6 health gain and 3 random spells, so a lot of value in 1 card. So I think it will still see a little bit of play, maybe in the view deck, of course, because it really uses those spells very well. So I'll be giving it 2 stars. Then we got Ward of Earth, a 5 mana nature spell, gain 5 armor. Summon a random 5-cost minion and give it Taunt. Now, this card is kind of similar to Shield Maiden, which got you a 5/5 and 5 armor previously in Warrior, and they even have additional synergy with Armor Warriors, and that saw no play anymore. And this card gets you a random 5-drop, which could be like a 3/4, could be a 5/5, or could even be better stats. So it's pretty random, probably like 5/5 average stats, if I have to guess. So that's okay, but is that really what you want to spend 5 mana on, a mediocre Taunt that gives you 5 armor? Probably not. One upside, of course, is that it is a nature spell, so it helps again with the imbues. But it feels like more of a card that it can be decent when you discover it, but maybe not necessarily a card you really want to be running. So to me, it just feels like one of those cards that just kind of too slow in today's meta, so I'll be giving it 1 star. And then we've got Growth Shaper, a 5 mana 3/6. After you cast a nature spell, summon a 2/2 with Death Rattle. Get a copy of that spell. So this card kind of does 2 things in one. First of all, you get potentially a full board with treants, which can be pretty nice, especially if there's potentially some buffs. Although that can depend on the deck that you're playing. Like if you're playing a Imbue deck, you might not have those buffs, but you still get a full board of treants sometimes, which can be quite strong. The other part of it is that you get copies of all the spells you play. So you can basically just do it again the next turn if they all get cleared with another Growth Shaper. And especially with cards that generate, like we've previously seen. Those cards can generate cards, and then they have more nature spells, and then you get those card generation cards back, plus the cards that generated. So you can get a ton of cards, especially with some cheap nature spells, like you can just use Innovate, or you can use the Horn of Plenty with this card. So I feel like this card is going to do a lot of things very well. Build that board, get a lot of value. So it seems really strong to me. I'll be giving it 4 stars. And then we have the Evergreen Stag, a 6 mana 6/7 beast. Elusive, lifesteal, taunt. So this seems like a pretty annoying minion to deal with. You've got to hit it with your minions, and obviously the lifesteal part is very nice. However, is this really what you want to be doing? Play a 6/7 taunt on turn 6 and that's it? I feel like nowadays this just isn't the card you want to be playing. Like, what's it going to do against Terran decks? They just play the Starship and rush into this, and you don't heal against Zerg decks. They either have an A-Date with Warlock, or there's Zerglings are 7/7s already and just kill this with 1 hit. Like, maybe if there's going to be some synergy in the future for this, it could be good, but right now, there's no synergy in the set with it. So I think, this card just won't be seeing a lot of play. It's just not worth it to play a single minion that just doesn't have immediate impact for 6 mana, so I'll be giving this card 1 star. And then the last card we have, and it's a big one, it's the Forest Lord Scenarios, a 10 mana 5/8. Choose thrice. Give your other minions +1/+3, or summon a 5/5 Ancient with Taunt. So generally, you want to start with the Ancients and decide how many Ancients you want, and then buff them afterwards. So standalone, you can just summon like 3 5/5 Taunts with this, or you can summon 2 6/8 Taunts. Or if you have a full board, you can buff everything with +3/+9. Now, I think the problem with this card is that it is 10 mana. And what do you want to play this in? Like in token decks, this feels like it might be a little bit too expensive. You get it a little bit too late. And in other decks, just playing this without really too much token synergy, is it really worth it? Now, obviously, it's a Druid card, so you could probably play it a little bit earlier. And the thing though, this card is still pretty flexible, because if you have a board, it's really nice. And if you don't have a board, it's not too bad. So I think because of that, I'll be giving it 3 stars. It feels like, maybe a bit slow at 10 mana, but I think the flexibility will make it worth running in some decks. So that is it overall for Druid. It feels like overall they got a pretty good set, especially that Hamuul with the Imbue card seems really, really nice because it's that start of the game. And I think the other standout card in the set for Druid is the Growth Shaper. Just, yeah, super strong. And it feels like it's almost a 5-star card. Just gives you so much value, so much pressure. And only downside is that you can only use nature spells on it, but that hasn't been a problem in the past. And I also got a few other cards, but I think it's mostly those two cards that will be carrying Druid and probably make it pretty strong going into the Emerald Dream. Now let me know in the comments what you think of the Druid set. How good do you think it is? And are you looking forward to play with Imbue Druid? And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to help me out. Thank you for watching, and until next time.